I started out. I had several different directions we could go today, and I had done. I've prepped about 3 shows today, and then threw them all out right before we went on the air. We really have to talk about Venezuela. Stu, I'll give you a choice:
Okay.
Venezuela, China, coming war. That's lots of fun. The Fed and the economic collapse that is going on with that.
Okay.
Not just with America, but all central banks. Or I could tell you the great heartwarming story of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Oh, wow.
I'm pulling for that one myself.
Quite the
I'm pulling for that one
variety
myself.
there.
It is.
Glenn, a little bit all over the board as we normally are. I would love to hear the Rudolph story, though we do have another week of shows up to Christmas. Maybe we can slide
So you want
that.
to squeeze anything hopeful right out of the show. That's what you're saying to me.
I disagree. I actually find the Canadian healthcare story we've been talking about quite hopeful, right? Like that people are stepping up to help this woman they don't know and bring her out of a socialist system to America. I see lots of hope in that story, actually.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that.
Yeah. I think, what we just talked about with Erica, she's trying to keep her husband's legacy alive with something really important, which is great. It's tough to find those moments, I suppose. But I will say, you did have me a bit intrigued when you were talking about the Venezuela thing and kind of just flatly, with no qualifiers and a big fat period at the end of it, said war is coming. Like, do you think what does that mean? Does that generalize you're worried about, future conflicts? Or are you saying like we're actually going to war with Venezuela actively?
No, I don't think we're going to war with Venezuela. I think, we could, but I don't think that's how it's going to play out. Even if we went into Venezuela with troops, which I don't think is going to happen, but even if we did that, it wouldn't be war with Venezuela; it'd be war with China. And that's just
great.
I just don't think
that's much
happen.
better. Wow. Okay. Yeah, you wanted
look.
to get to uplifting stuff. I can see.
So I told you. I told you.
Is it too late to start Rudolph?
You're the one pushing me in this direction. You want it or not? You want it or not?
No, I do. I want to hear this.
Okay. What do you know about the crude? What do you know about the oil tanker that we seized yesterday?
Very little. What's been in the news. That's it.
Okay. Oil tanker. Everybody's like, we took an oil tanker now. Yeah, what oil tanker? This oil tanker has been a bone of contention between us and Venezuela for a very, very long time because they are taking oil basically to China. And we have said no, and they've also been doing it with Iran, taking some Iranian oil with this tanker, et cetera, et cetera. It has been, it's a troubled oil tanker. So finally, Donald Trump just said yesterday, enough is enough. That is not, that's a message to China. That's all that was. We are, when you look at what's happening in Venezuela, here's what I want you to understand. The world is profoundly changing. Now, I would have been telling you this had Kamala Harris been in. I would have been telling you the world is profoundly changing and it's going to go into a global structure. And we're going to have one world government and then China and Russia. There'd be, that. The West would go into one world government. That's what I would be telling you today. I'm telling you now, we are going into another kind of reset, not the Great Reset, but a different reset. And this one is going to go to nation states. And the United States is protecting itself and setting up. You remember the chalkboard when I said, the disease from the Islamists and the anarchists and the socialists and communists would spread around the world? The last part of that chalkboard is not that it would just spread around the world, but it would try to collapse the systems. Okay. Our systems, both East and West, are collapsing as we know it. And, another chalkboard I put out about 2015, I wish I had Glenn AI up right to now because I could go and find it for you. But I think around 2017, I put a chalkboard up and I said, there's 2 things left. There's collapse of the currency and war. And one happens before the other, but they always go hand in hand. Usually what happens when you get into an end of an empire, a dying empire, which we are, when you get to there, what happens is you usually have the rising power, which many will believe is China, but it's not. The rising power comes up and they will make a first strike, and they will strike us in some way or another to put us out, and then they rise up to the top. Okay? That's usually what happens. This time, there is no rising power because China is bluffing. We're bluffing. We cannot get out from under this debt. The entire world has this debt. So there's a debt explosion that's going to happen. How that shapes up, how that turns out, I don't know. But war will come with it because it's going to be such a profound change. Now, what's happening is we're not going into one system. We're going into two systems. There will be one system for the East and one system for the West. I'm convinced of that. What Donald Trump is doing is everything that's happening in Venezuela. Yes, it has something to do with drugs in our own streets, et cetera, et cetera. But mainly it is saying to Iran, Russia, and China, get the hell out of our hemisphere. You are no longer welcome here. That's why Russia and China were coming into the Japanese airspace just yesterday, and we in Japan had to push them back. They're not trying to start a war. They're checking us. They're putting us in check because they're going to do the same thing to that hemisphere. They're going to say, okay, fine, you have the West, we have the East. And that, I think, is what's coming. And how that works out, war and currency collapse, those always go hand in hand. I don't know this time because you're going to lose. I mean, we're going to lose South Korea as an asset. South Korea is going to be, it will fall to the Chinese. When that happens, what happens to Japan? Do they fall to the Chinese too? What happens to Taiwan? Does that fall to the Chinese? Let me bring Jason in on this. Do you agree with what I'm saying so far?
Yeah, pretty much. I definitely think we're entering into a stage of hemispheric control. And the tanker situation is a perfect example of everything that we've been talking about since this whole Venezuela thing started. You look at a tanker that's been sanctioned since, I think, 2022. This was under the Biden administration it was sanctioned. And what they discovered then was that the Iranian Republican Guard Corps was sending direct orders, basically, to the people that were involved with this tanker to take Iranian oil, eventually over to Asia, which pretty much means China, and then make money that they were filtering back to Iran. Well, another player in that was this extremely wealthy Russian oligarch. So you have the Russians. You know that he's not doing this on his own. You know that Russia was involved in some way.
Yep.
So you have all of these players that are involved in trying to control assets, or at least use the hemisphere of America to do this thing and to pull it off. You have Russia. You have the Iranians. You have China. All these people are operating in our backyard. It was crazy. Did you see the Venezuelan opposition leader Machado?
Yes,
yesterday
in Norway.
Yes,
I mean she was they forbid her for leaving Venezuela. She's just gotten a Nobel Peace Prize. She's the opposition leader.
Yeah,
and the Nobel Prize just went to her for peace, and she showed up. Yeah. I don't know what's going to happen to her when she goes back.
Yeah, she was asked directly because of this tanker situation and everything going on with our buildup in South America, if she supported a U.S. Invasion or ground operation, stuff like that. And she goes, invasion? Well, Venezuela's already been invaded. Who did she give as an example of the invasion? She named specifically Hezbollah, Hamas, and other international
terror organizations
and drug trafficking organizations. This is known to everyone. This is not just about drugs. Now, I want to make this clear. I'm not like advocating for us to go in and do any kind of war.
I don't want that.
I don't want involvement.
I don't want that.
But what you're saying as far as hemispheric conflict is developing. Like, there's no stopping it. Now's the choice, the chance of how do we maneuver ourselves into where we can, I don't know, somehow influence or not get. I don't want to get involved in this whole China-Taiwan thing. If any of this sounds beneficial or at least, I don't know, optimistic, is that now the players within that hemisphere, like Japan, are they like the number 3 economy in the world? It's around that area. They have a juggernaut economy. It's not as doing well like all the others in the world are not doing well. But they also have a major military that's not authorized to do offensive operations. But they are a perfect check to China. Why are we always the ones that are the first people they call to go and handle that situation? Regional powers are emerging, like Japan.
It is going. See, this is the exact opposite. This is what people need to understand. This was going to happen, and it was going to happen, and it was either going to go into China and their sphere of influence, and the West as a global, one world order. Okay, those would have been the 2 powers. That was coming. Would it have had to have collapse and possible war? Yeah, because everything's changing, and to get people to change that much probably would mean some war. So what's happening is Donald Trump has just said, no, nation states, individual states matter. That's where the people are. They want their own representation in their own state. And so the United States is standing up for that. And so you're going to see, for instance, in the Eastern Hemisphere, you're going to see Japan, Australia, they're going to have to stand on their own 2 feet because we're not going to be able to do it. So they're going to have to stand on their own 2 feet. When it comes to this hemisphere, Donald Trump is making sure that we have all of the resources locked down, all of the rare earth minerals locked down, everything that we're going to need to survive as a hemisphere, because at best we're going into some sort of a Cold War. Would you agree with that?
At best.
At best.
Yes.
Yeah.
I tell you what, Glenn, we talked yesterday on your TV show about the year 2027, which we're about to start the clock on the 12-month countdown to 2027. So many predictions have made about that year in 2027. For one, China being able to or being ready to take back Taiwan. That's huge. For the other, artificial intelligence, per all of the experts that are now predicting 2027 as being the year that starts, where we finally kind of realize, okay, there's definitely no going back now. This is the main geopolitical and educational and everything goal for every single nation state. Like the race is on. Like, I guess at that point, it will be decided. This is the person that will, is the first one to the race and will control it. That's the countdown that we're on right now.
Thank you for thinking for yourself and being part of a movement, because that's really what all of this is. If you want the full story, you want to go deeper, go to blazetv.com/Glenn. Go there right now, sign up, no interruptions, just the truth, uncensored and unfiltered. Don't just watch, take a stand. And I'll see you over there in a minute.